whole introduction, the topic of narcissism is a very interesting one. Because as an imam, most of the time when someone asks me about the topic of narcissism, I can't recall a single time, and this is very anecdotal, but I can't recall someone coming up to me and saying, I think I might be a narcissist. Or I think I'm starting to develop narcissism. I can recall multiple times over the years, in fact, rarely a week goes by when someone says, I think my spouse is a narcissist. I think my parents are narcissists. I think my children are narcissists. And sometimes they're, at least surface level, they're right. But very few people will actually say, you know what, I think I might have a problem here that I need to actually work on. And subhanAllah, as Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah says very beautifully, if you learn to diagnose the spiritual ills within yourself, if you become hyper vigilant with diagnosing spiritual flaws and diseases within yourself, then you'll also necessarily become better at identifying them in others. But you would have been so humbled by the process of constantly holding yourself to those spiritual ills that you won't write people off when you start to identify them in others. Narcissism. Go to Google right now, well, not now in the khutbah, if you go how to deal with narcissism, it's going to be about someone else. As believers, we want to make sure we don't have qualities that will ultimately ruin us in the hereafter. And so I want you for this khutbah to be introspective for a bit. Now, narcissism in the technical definition is a condition in which a people have an inflated sense of their own importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, troubled relationships, and a lack of empathy for others. That's the textbook definition. What does this have to do with the khutbah? Because this is not a psychiatry session. This is a tazkiyah reminder. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah has this powerful reflection about the words that a narcissist is likely to start to utter, in which they have to interrogate themselves. قال رحمه الله تعالى وَلْيَحْذَرْ كُلَّ الْحَذْرِ مِنْ تُغْيَانِ أَنَا وَلِي وَعِنْدِي. He said a person should be extremely careful if they find themselves starting to utter ana, wali, wa indi. 3 words. He said if you start to utter them. And the problem is that sometimes they don't have an exact equivalent language-wise. It's actually not these are not words that necessarily translate well into English. But basically, if you start saying me, myself, I, me, to me, belongs to me, this is for me, I did this, I did that. If you start using I and me and my too frequently, then you need to be very, very careful. Ana is very clearly I. Li and indi, both of them would mean to me. So basically I, myself, me. He said, be careful if you start to find yourself using these letters and these words too frequently. I, myself, me. And he says, فَإِنَّ هَذِهِ الْأَلْفَاظ الثَّلَاثَةِ ابْتُلِيَ بِهَا إِبْلِيسُ وَفِرْعَوْنُ وَقَارُونَ. He said these 3 words were used by 3. The devil, Iblis, Fir'aun, the greatest tyrant of all time, and Qarun, who was a very proud king, also a tyrant. Both of them, of course, in the time of Musa alayhi salam. He said these 3 words, ana, wali, wa indi, I, myself, me, were the vocabulary of these 3 individuals. He says, as for Iblis, قَالَ أَنَا خَيْرٌ مِنْهُ. Iblis said, I am better than him. I am better than him. And he said, as for Fir'aun, he said, وَلِي مُلْكُ مِصْرٍ. I possess the entire kingdom of Egypt. Wali, to me, belongs the entire kingdom of Egypt. And as for Qarun, he said, إِنَّمَا أُوتِيتُهُ عَلَى عِلْمٍ عِنْدِي. He said, I earned all of this because of knowledge that I have. I got this. It was me. It was my intelligence that got me to this place that you see me. So of course I'm going to boast because I'm the one that made this happen. So he said these 3 words are very dangerous. And he said, if a person starts to find themselves saying these words frequently in their life, then they need to go back and they need to examine if behind the vocabulary are some of the traits of these individuals.